These are the adventures of a temporarily out of work wife and mother, and somebody asked for the how-to of our accent wall. Initially, I was satisfied with just the black contact paper, the beautiful shade of peacock blue paint on the sides of the walls as an accent color on the accent wall, and the mounted and trimmed mirrors, because I was doing the light board on the wall underneath the bar top. And I did do the light board, but then I decided that I wanted to make that wall look more like a museum, since my plan was to hang the family photos and add the museum light over it. I wanted to give the full artistic effect on that accent wall. And once I decided to do that, it kind of clashed with that light board. In addition, the light board didn't come out exactly how I wanted it to. Well, technically it did, but the contact paper just didn't hold up. I probably needed to redo it, and I didn't feel like it. Since it clashed anyway, I just figured I'd take it down. It's something that I can do in the future. Once I got two of the mirrors up and I started doing my measurements for the photos and the museum light, I realized that the wall was just too plain. And that's when I got the bright idea to do the tape. So I decided on a pattern, went to Hobby Lobby. They had all of the tape that I had thought of. They had thick tape as well as skinny tape. They had all of the colors that I desired. And I decided that I would play on the black from the contact paper and not add black tape. Instead, I would paint the banister, the bathroom door, the coat closet door, the strip of wall that transitions from the dining room to the living room, and the strip of wall that transitions from the dining room to the kitchen. And I almost painted every interior door downstairs black, but that lady's son that I married said absolutely not, and since he was footing the bill, he got to decide. Now later on, I went back and painted half of this little black area here, that peacock blue color, and part of the wall underneath the bar top so that it would match the pattern that I'd created with the peacock blue, the black, and the tape on the opposite wall. And of course, I didn't come up with that until after I decided that the light board clashed. To protect the carpets, because of course we'd already removed the carpet protectors before I got this bright idea, I did put down some drop cloth, and I also put some painter's tape around the areas of the door trim and baseboards that I didn't want to get paint on. I decided not to paint the actual trim and baseboards black because I wanted to play on that white color as a part of my tape concept. I also used everything that was on the walls, including the outlet extenders, as a part of the tape concept. I envisioned painting the coat closet door as a great way to transition from the dining room to the living room, and I think that it worked. Initially, the plan was for the piece of wall under the bar top where it curved and transitioned from the dining room to the living room to be the transition. So it was just going to be solid black, with the light board taking up the other 75%, from where the dining room began to where the bar top curved. As I began to unpack the boxes and stock the shelves, I realized that I was going to have to replace that bookcase that we got rid of. So I found a bookcase that fit perfectly from the curve of the wall under the bar top to the point where the living room starts, which meant that with the tape design going from the start of the bar top to the end of it, the door being the transition piece became perfect. I also thought that having the bookcase there was a perfect complement to the position where the bar would be. I decided on a 4-pattern tape design. So I measured out on the wall to ensure that I would be able to repeat that pattern 3 times. Once it was all measured out, I did one design just to make sure that I liked it and make sure that it would stay. For more than 24 hours, it stayed perfectly fine. So do not ask me why the rest of the tape started doing the dead on me, but it did. I think that it's the change in temperature, as well as the fact that some of the tape is on the painted wall and some of it is on contact paper. I have tried everything from hot glue to roll-on glue to double-sided tape to regular tape. And after doing some research, I am getting some Gorilla Mist adhesive spray. And I'm going to use that to secure the tape that's already there. Hopefully I won't have to remove any and reapply it, but if I do still have some left, and it was not very expensive at all. Now, here what I'm doing is I'm actually taking the contact paper and I'm applying it on the trim around the door so that I can make it appear that I actually use black tape as a part of the design in the areas where the pattern is black, white, and silver. Because the trim is white, I did need black for the black. And I didn't need any tape for the white. The wider rolls of tape came in 30 yards and they were about $3 a piece. And the slimmer rolls of tape came in 10 yards and they were about $2 a piece. I purchased white, silver, and gray in the wider rolls of tape, white, silver, and sparkly in the slimmer yards of tape. And when I decided to repeat the design on the wall underneath the bar top, I did also add slim rolls of the black tape. And since I didn't need it on the wall because it was already covered in contact paper, I used it to cover the outlet extender. Now here, obviously, the doors have curve and they have a pattern. So one of the things I figured out is that I needed to lay the tape down, press it into the curve, and then cut it. Remove the tape where it curved at the top and the bottom, and then reaffix the tape so that it overlapped and fit seamlessly into the door's curve. That almost took me out, but once I did the first one, I knew exactly what I needed to do. Here it is again, a little more seamless so that hopefully you can see exactly what it is that I'm talking about. Another thing that I realized is that once I did that repositioning, what would happen is the tape that was on the flat part of the door looked like it was wider than the tape that was inside the crease in the design pattern of the door. So I used my X-Acto knife to go back and trim the tape that was on the flat part of the door. It was nothing but God that the white tape was perfectly positioned for me to be able to just lay that silver tape right onto that pattern without having to do that whole cutting and trimming and reapplying situation. So my 4 design pattern was black, white with silver, silver, white with sparkle, black, white with silver, white, black with sparkle. When I went back to Hobby Lobby for the second time to get tape, they were all out of the slim white tape. So I had to get creative. The only thing they had was some vinyl that was white and iridescent. I used my cutting board to cut strips that were the same thickness as the slim pieces of tape, and it worked out perfectly on the wall underneath the bar top. So for tools, I needed some really sharp scissors, an X-Acto knife, the smoothing board that I use for the contact paper, my hot glue gun for the curved areas around the trim, and my cutting board. Since I'd already applied the mirrors before I came up with this bright idea, I just cut the tape around the mirrors. But I applied the tape from top to bottom on the wall where the sign is, the museum light, and the photos. And this is the finished product. Now, since I wanted lights underneath that bar top, I still went ahead and added some remote control push lights. And since this floor plan is open concept, it was important that I had cohesion. So I added museum lights and tape design around the blackboard. Can you tell that I am in love with this view at nighttime when I can turn the light on underneath that bar, turn the sign on, and that museum light over the photos of my babies? The museum light over the blackboard is motion activated at night, and I can turn on the lights under the bar top.